The Municipal Act 27 of 2000 makes provision for people who cannot get to their voting stations on election day to cast their votes. Special votes may be cast at the voting station where the voter is registered or a home visit. Voters with physical infirmity, disability or pregnancy who applied for a special vote will be allowed to cast such a vote at their home or place of residence within the voting district where registered prior to the election day. A voter who is registered but cannot vote in that voting district on election day due to his or her intended absence from that voting district, being on duty as a member of the security services in connection with the election, or serving as an officer in the election concerned. These voters will be allowed to cast a special vote at a voting station within the voting district where they are registered prior to the election day. Special voting days should get the same attention to detail as a normal election day. The process should be managed in such a way that it does not unfairly discriminate against certain voters or benefit voters who are not eligible to cast a special vote. If there is no list of approved special voting applicants at the voting station, then that voting station should not be opened for voters. If there are names on the list of approved special voting applicants for home visits, then that will proceed. If there is a small number of voters on the list and all of them have voted before the prescribed closing time, then that voting station may be permitted to close after the last voter has cast his or her vote. Confirmation has to be received from the local IEC office or the area manager first before closing the voting station. Voting for special votes will open at 8 a.m. and close at 5 p.m. The list of approved special vote applications for the voting station will be received from the local IEC office and will identify the people who are eligible to vote. The voting district number and other details are written on the ballot boxes that will be used. The voting process at the voting stations are the same as for voting day, except for the fact that there is a special list for voters and the double envelope system must be used. In the double envelope system, ballots are first placed in a smaller unmarked envelope labeled unmarked, which is sealed, and then placed in a larger envelope labeled marked, which is placed in the ballot box. The presiding officer must observe this process or the ballots cast will be invalidated. All the names of voters who have voted must be marked off on the list of approved special vote applications and a line drawn through the name in the segment of the voter's roll as having voted with the letters SV written at the end of their names. The list of approved special vote applications for the voting district will be received from the local IEC office and will identify the voters requiring home visits. The presiding officer must inform agents where there are home visits, share the schedule, and plan for home visits with the agents. It is not required of the presiding officer to wait for the arrival of agents before commencing with home visits, but the voting station officers should not leave before 8 a.m. 2 voting station officers will visit the applicant at the address provided on the application form on the special voting days for home visits. Box files and not ballot boxes should be used for home visits. During a home visit, should there be additional people who request to cast their votes and their names do not appear on the list, the voting station officers must decline such requests. When arriving at the voter's home, the IEC officials identify themselves. Once inside, the voter is requested to show their ID document. The ID is verified with the names on the list. Draw a line through the name on the list. If the voter's name does not appear on the list, the voter must not be given a ballot but must be advised to come back on election day. Applies indelible ink vertically to the left-hand thumbnail where the base of nail and cuticle meet. Mark the left thumbnail with a special marker pen. Stamp the identity document on page 2 or 3, or stamp the front of the temporary identification certificate. Do not attempt to stamp the smart card ID. Take 2 or 3 ballot papers, depending on the area where the voter is registered, and stamp on the back with the official stamp. If the voter cannot physically draw a cross, the UBT can be used to assist the voter. Allow the voter to vote in secret. Instruct the voter to place the folded ballot paper in the envelope labeled unmarked and seal it, and then place it in the larger envelope labeled marked. Place the envelope in the box file and thank the voter. After the home visits have been concluded and the election officers have returned to the voting station, the presiding officer must call the agents and observers present. Use the list and the envelopes to mark the voter's name off the voter's roll. Draw a line over the name and write SV next to it. Reconcile the number of envelopes to the names that have been marked on the approved list and record this in the voting station diary. Deposit the envelopes in an already assembled ballot box that is being used at the voting station. Complete the ballot paper statement for special vote section in the voting station diary. Seal the ballot box and allow party agents to affix their seals if any. Record the seal serial number in the voting station diary. Place all security material in the tamper-evident overnight storage bag. Transport all voting materials, including the sealed ballot box, to the overnight storage place. The counting of these special votes will, however, only take place on the actual election day, with the rest of the votes cast on election day. Special votes may be cast at the voting station where the voter is registered or a home visit. Home visits are for voters with physical infirmity, disability, or pregnancy. Voting at a voting station is for a voter who is registered but cannot vote in that voting district on election day due to their intended absence from that voting district. The double envelope system must be used. This means the folded ballots are placed in the smaller envelope labeled unmarked, sealed, placed in a larger envelope labeled marked, sealed again, and then placed in a ballot box at a voting station or box file on home visits. The special voting process is similar to the normal voting process. Mark the ballot boxes with the voting district number and details for voting station and box file for home visits. Voting for special votes will open at 8 a.m. and close at 5 p.m. on each of the 2 days. Check the names on the special voters list. Stamp the ballot papers and ID document. Use the double envelope system to place ballots in a box. For voting station votes, draw the line through the name on the voter's roll and write SV after the name. For home visits, draw the line through the name on the voter's roll when back at the station. at the voting station after a home visit. Reconcile envelopes and names. Place envelopes in the ballot box. Seal the ballot box and place in an overnight storage place and do the administration.